Commander Park Ji-won shivered as the drill finally broke through the last ice layer. Their team had spent 6 months on Europa, Jupiter's frozen moon, following strange energy readings. No one expected to find anything like this. "Stop the drill," Park shouted, her breath visible in the frigid air. The massive drilling machine ground to a halt. She adjusted her helmet lights and peered into the newly created hole. Instead of more ice, her light reflected off something smooth and metallic. "Kim, get the scanning equipment," Park ordered. Dr. Kim Do-yeon, the team's chief scientist, hurried over with handheld sensors. "This can't be right," Kim muttered, checking his readings twice. "Commander, I'm detecting an artificial structure. It's massive, at least 2 kilometers long." The 12-person excavation team worked tirelessly over the next week to widen the access point. What they revealed stunned everyone. Buried beneath 20 meters of ice was an enormous ship, clearly designed by human hands, yet featuring technology far beyond anything currently possible. "The hull is made of an alloy we've never seen before," Kim reported during their nightly briefing. "And based on our initial carbon dating of organic materials we found in the outer compartments, this ship is approximately 103,000 years old." The room fell silent. Human civilization as they knew it was barely 10,000 years old. "That's impossible," said Han Ji-soo, their historian. "Humans were still hunting with stone tools back then." Park studied the images on the screen. Apparently not all of them. The United Earth Coalition immediately classified the discovery and sent additional personnel and equipment. They named the ship Prometheus, after the mythological figure who gave fire to humanity. 3 months into the excavation, Park led the first team inside the vessel. They wore sealed environmental suits as they cut through a previously undamaged airlock. "The interior is pressurized," reported Lee Junho, their environmental specialist. "Oxygen levels are low but present, temperature holding at -15 Celsius. The corridors were wide enough for 3 people to walk side by side. The walls featured strange symbols, not quite hieroglyphics, not quite letters, flowing in patterns that somehow felt familiar yet utterly alien. These looked like early human writing systems, but more advanced," Han noted, recording everything with her camera. "Like a missing link between ancient pictographs and modern alphabets." The team carefully made their way deeper into the ship. Most doors opened automatically as they approached, as if the ship was still partially functioning despite its age. They found rooms filled with dust-covered equipment, living quarters with furniture designed for human bodies, and what appeared to be medical facilities with technology they couldn't begin to understand. On the 5th day of interior exploration, they reached what could only be the bridge, a large circular room with control panels and darkened screens surrounding a central platform. "Look at this," Park said, brushing dust off a console. Beneath was a handprint outline, slightly larger than her own hand. Dr. Kim ran his scanner over it. "It's some kind of interface. There's still power flowing through these systems, but very faint." Park hesitated, then made a decision. "I'm going to try activating it." "Commander, we don't know what might happen," warned Security Officer Choi Min-ja. "We've come too far to stop now," Park replied. She removed her glove and placed her bare hand on the outline. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft blue light began to pulse beneath her palm. The room hummed as long dormant systems stirred to life. The central platform illuminated, and above it appeared a holographic figure, humanoid but composed of shifting light patterns. To everyone's shock, it spoke. The language was unlike anything they had heard before, yet hauntingly familiar. "It's speaking Proto-Indo-European," gasped Han. "Or something very close to it. That's the theoretical ancestor language for hundreds of modern Earth languages." Park addressed the hologram. "Can you understand me?" The light figure paused, then responded in heavily accented but understandable English. "Language analysis complete. Adapting communication protocols." "What are you?" Park asked. "I am the guardian intelligence of this vessel. You may call me Sentinel. Your genetic signature contains markers recognized in my database. You are descendants. The team exchanged glances of disbelief. Descendants of whom? Park asked carefully. You are children of the first civilization, Sentinel replied. Those who built the celestial highways and seeded the stars. Over the next few hours, Sentinel revealed fragments of an impossible history. Humans had achieved advanced technology once before, creating a vast interstellar civilization. They had explored and settled hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Why don't we remember this? Han asked. What happened to this civilization? Sentinel's light form dimmed slightly. The Great Regression. A conflict that threatened all life. A decision was made to preserve humanity by returning to its origin point. Earth, whispered Park. Affirmative. Technological knowledge was removed. History was erased. Humanity was given a second chance to evolve differently. And this ship? Kim asked. What is Prometheus? This vessel was created for protection. When the ancient enemies return, Prometheus will awaken to defend Earth's children. Park felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. What ancient enemies? Before Sentinel could answer, the entire ship trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling as warning lights activated along the walls. What's happening? Park demanded. Proximity alert, Sentinel replied, its voice taking on a more urgent tone. Foreign vessels have entered this solar system. Configuration matches hostile forces from historical records. A screen activated on the wall, showing a real-time feed from somewhere above Europa's surface. 3 massive ships, unlike any human design, were moving into orbit around Jupiter. Choi's communication device buzzed. Commander, we're receiving an emergency broadcast from Earth Defense. Unknown ships have bypassed our outer system warning beacons. They're not responding to hails and are on an intercept course. Park looked at Sentinel, whose light form had shifted to a deeper red. The Vorn hegemony, Sentinel stated. They have returned. They were among those who forced humanity into regression. They believe your species too dangerous to allow free development. We've never heard of them, Park said. They have been watching, waiting. Your recent quantum technology advances have triggered their protocols. Park felt the weight of 100,000 years of forgotten history pressing down on her. Can this ship still function? Can it help us? Sentinel's form expanded, filling the bridge with pulsing light. Prometheus was built for this moment, to awaken when needed most. The hologram gestured to the command chair that had risen from the center platform. Take your place, Commander. The genetic markers in your bloodline link you to this vessel's primary commanders. Park hesitated only briefly before sitting in the ancient chair. Immediately, interfaces lit up around her, and she felt a strange connection forming, as if the ship itself was becoming an extension of her body and mind. Initiating full systems recovery, Sentinel announced, awakening Prometheus from its long slumber. The entire vessel hummed with increasing power. Ice that had encased it for millennia began to crack and fall away. Deep within the ship, enormous engines that had been silent for 100,000 years ignited once more, and humanity's ancient guardian prepared to rise. The ice of Europa cracked in spider web patterns as Prometheus's systems continued to awaken. Inside the ancient vessel, the excavation team had expanded to include Earth's top scientists, working around the clock to understand the impossible technology before them. Dr. Kim Do-yeon studied the ship's power core with a mixture of awe and frustration. It's like trying to understand quantum physics with Stone Age knowledge, he told Commander Park. This ship doesn't use fusion or antimatter. It's drawing energy from what appears to be the fabric of space-time itself. Park nodded, her eyes dark with lack of sleep. For 2 weeks, they had worked to understand Prometheus while keeping their discovery classified. Only the highest levels of Earth's unified government knew the truth. What about weapons systems? Park asked. Have you made any progress there? Kim hesitated. We've identified what might be defensive arrays, but activating them. He shook his head. We could accidentally blow up half the moon. Their conversation was interrupted when Officer Choi Min-jae burst into the command center, his face pale. "Commander, we've received an emergency transmission from Earth Defense Command." He activated a holographic display showing 3 massive ships entering the outer solar system. Their design was utterly alien. Asymmetrical structures resembling giant metal coral formations with pulsing lights along their hulls. "They appeared beyond Neptune's orbit 30 minutes ago," Choi explained. "They're ignoring all communication attempts and moving toward Earth at speeds our fastest ships can't match." "Have they shown hostile intent?" Park asked, studying the strange vessels. "Not yet, but their trajectory is putting them on an intercept course with our primary defense stations." The holographic form of Sentinel appeared beside them, its light pattern swirling with increased intensity. "The Vorn hegemony," it stated. "Their vessel configuration has evolved but remains recognizable." Park turned to the AI. "You know these aliens. They were among the coalition that forced humanity's regression. For thousands of years, they have maintained watch over Earth, ensuring humans didn't advance too quickly." Kim looked confused. "But we've been exploring our solar system for over a century. We have colonies on Mars, mining operations throughout the asteroid belt. Why haven't they interfered before?" "They have," Sentinel replied. "Your historical records contain unexplained technological setbacks, lost research, mysterious accidents that eliminated promising scientific breakthroughs. The Vorn preferred subtle intervention. Until now," Park said grimly. A new transmission came through, this time directly from Admiral Joe Kunke at Earth Defense Command. His expression was grim. "Commander Park, whatever you found on Europa has triggered something. These alien ships are broadcasting a message in perfect English. They're demanding we surrender what they call prohibited technology and submit to immediate quarantine of all off-world human settlements." Park felt cold dread spreading through her body. "What's our response going to be?" Admiral Joe's image flickered. "Our most advanced warships are moving to intercept, but based on energy readings, we're severely outmatched. They have weapons capabilities we can't even measure. The Security Council is debating options, but—" He hesitated. "Some are suggesting we comply to avoid potential conflict." After the transmission ended, Park turned to Sentinel. "Can Prometheus defend against these Vorn ships?" This vessel was designed specifically to counter Vorn technology. It possesses countermeasures that would render their weapons ineffective. "Then we need to activate it now," Park said firmly. Kim looked alarmed. "Commander, we've barely scratched the surface of understanding this ship. Attempting to power up its main systems could be catastrophic. More catastrophic than letting aliens impose a quarantine on our entire species," Park challenged. "We need to at least try." The command center fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Finally, Park made her decision. "Evacuate all non-essential personnel back to our surface base. Dr. Kim, Officer Choi, and I will remain aboard with a skeleton crew of volunteers. We're going to attempt full activation." Within hours, the excavation site had transformed. Most of the research team retreated to the safety of their surface facilities, while Park and her chosen few headed to Prometheus's bridge. The ship's corridors hummed with increasing energy as more systems came online automatically. On the bridge, Park sat in the command chair while Kim and his team worked frantically at the ancient control stations. "Power levels are rising exponentially," Kim reported. "The ship is drawing energy at an incredible rate. But from where? I can't tell." Sentinel's hologram expanded, filling the center of the bridge. "Commander, full activation requires genetic authentication. Place your palm on the primary console and verbally acknowledge command authority." Park hesitated only briefly before placing her right hand on the illuminated panel before her. "I, Park Chuan, acknowledge command authority." A beam of light shot from the console, scanning her from head to toe. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship shuddered as if taking a deep breath. "Genetic markers confirmed," Sentinel announced. "You carry the bloodline of Fleet Commander Hyun-jae. last captain of Prometheus. Command protocols transferred, all systems online. The bridge transformed around them. Dormant displays blazed to life, showing views of Europa's surface, the approaching Vorn vessels, and Earth itself. Park felt a strange connection forming between herself and the ship, as if Prometheus was becoming an extension of her own body. "What is happening?" she whispered. "The neural interface is establishing connection," Sentinel explained. "Prometheus responds directly to your thought patterns. It is how the ship was designed to operate." Park closed her eyes, feeling the vast power of the ancient warship flowing through her consciousness. She could sense every system, every weapon, every defensive capability. The knowledge was overwhelming. "The Vorn ships have detected our power signature," Choi warned. "They're changing course, heading directly for Europa." "Time to activation of main propulsion," Park asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. 3 minutes, Kim responded, checking readings he barely understood. "Whatever this ship uses for thrust, it's building towards something massive." Park opened her eyes, which now reflected the same blue light as Prometheus's systems. "Send a message to Earth Defense Command. Tell them to hold position. We will intercept the Vorn vessels." As the message was sent, the ice surrounding Prometheus began to melt rapidly. The enormous ship, dormant for 100 millennia, was generating enough heat to turn Europa's frozen surface to steam. Through her connection with the ship, Park could feel Prometheus awakening fully, a slumbering giant stirring to defend its children once more. The sensation was both terrifying and exhilarating. "Vorn vessels are accelerating," Choi reported. "They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes. They recognize this ship," Sentinel said. "They know what Prometheus represents." Park's mind filled with images she didn't understand. Fleets of vessels similar to Prometheus engaging in battle with Vorn ships across the stars, civilizations rising and falling, humanity spreading throughout the galaxy before being forced back to Earth. "They fear us," Park whispered as the knowledge flowed through her. "They always have." With a final surge of power, Prometheus broke free from its icy tomb. The ancient warship rose majestically from Europa's surface, ice and water cascading from its massive hull. Its true form was revealed at last. Sleek and imposing, covered in symbols that glowed with blue energy. In orbit around Earth, humans watched in awe as their long-forgotten guardian emerged to face the approaching threat. Prometheus moved with impossible grace for its size, accelerating toward the Vorn vessels with a surge of power that defied known physics. Through Park's eyes, humanity witnessed the awakening of their true legacy. And across the galaxy, ancient races who had long watched Earth with wary eyes felt a chill of recognition. The children of the stars had remembered who they were. Prometheus cut through space with unnatural speed, leaving Europa far behind. The ancient warship moved unlike anything humanity had built. No visible engines, no exhaust plumes, just a silent glide that somehow bent the laws of physics. On the bridge, Commander Park Ji-won gripped the arms of her command chair as the neural link with the ship flooded her mind with information. "Status report," she managed to say, fighting the disorientation. Dr. Kim looked up from his station, his face pale with awe. "We're accelerating at rates that should have crushed us all. Yet the ship's gravity systems are compensating perfectly. There's no inertial effect." Officer Choi monitored the communications array. "Earth Defense Command is going crazy. Every telescope in the system is pointed at us. They're demanding explanations." "Tell them to maintain position," Park ordered. "We'll handle the Vorn." Through the ship's advanced sensors, Park could see the 3 Vorn vessels clearly now. They were massive constructions of dark metal and glowing energy fields. Each was at least 3 times larger than Earth's biggest battleships. But Prometheus dwarfed even them, stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. "The Vorn are transmitting," Choi announced. A holographic screen appeared before them, showing an alien face. The Vorn commander had gray-blue skin stretched over a skeletal face with 4 small eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. When it spoke, its jaw split into mandible-like sections. Humans of Earth, you have violated the containment accord by accessing prohibited technology. Surrender the ancient vessel immediately or face extinction-level response. Park stood from her command chair, drawing strength from Prometheus through their connection. This is Commander Park Ji-won of the Earth vessel Prometheus. We have no knowledge of any containment accord with your species. This ship is human technology, recovered from our own moon. The Vorn commander's eyes narrowed. Ignorance of the accord does not excuse its violation. Your species was deemed too dangerous for unrestricted space travel. The vessel you have awakened is evidence of why such containment was necessary. Comply immediately. Park looked to Sentinel's holographic form. What is he talking about? After the Great War, the galactic powers created the containment accord. Sentinel explained. Humanity was to be restricted to Earth until they evolved beyond their warlike tendencies. All evidence of your previous civilization was erased. And if we refuse their demands now? Park asked. The Vorn will attempt to destroy Prometheus, and then likely sterilize all human settlements beyond Earth. The Vorn commander grew impatient. You have 5 minutes to power down and prepare for boarding, or we will open fire. Park straightened her back. Sentinel, what defensive capabilities do we have? Prometheus was designed to counter any weapon the Vorn might deploy. We can neutralize their capabilities without destruction if you wish. Do it, Park ordered. Show them we can defend ourselves, but avoid casualties if possible. As the Vorn deadline approached, their 3 warships moved into attack formation. Energy began building along their hulls as weapon systems charge. They're preparing to fire, Choi warned. Park remained calm, feeling Prometheus's systems responding to her thoughts. Activate defensive protocols. The ancient warship hummed as dormant systems awakened fully. A translucent blue field expanded outward, surrounding the vessel in layers of energy that shifted and rippled like water. The Vorn ships fired simultaneously. Beams of searing energy lashed out, powerful enough to vaporize Earth's strongest battleships. They struck Prometheus's defensive field and simply vanished, absorbed without effect. Remarkable, Kim whispered, checking his readings. The shield isn't just blocking their attacks. It's converting the energy and feeding it back into our systems. The Vorn fired again, this time launching what appeared to be physical projectiles, missiles that glowed with exotic radiation. Neutralize them, Park commanded. Prometheus responded instantly. Dozens of small points of light emerged from its hull, intercepting each missile. Rather than explosive impacts, the missiles simply deactivated, their propulsion systems failing as they drifted harmlessly into space. The Vorn commander reappeared on screen, its 4 eyes wide with what might have been fear. This is impossible. Your species cannot have mastered nullification fields. Park felt knowledge flowing through her neural link. But we did, 100,000 years ago. Your people feared what we could accomplish, so you forced us back to Earth and erased our history. Without waiting for a response, Park nodded to Sentinel. Now show them we could destroy them if we wanted to. Prometheus's hull shifted, sections rearranging to reveal what could only be weapon ports. A single pulse of energy, just a warning shot, lanced out, passing between 2 Vorn ships and continuing onward, splitting an asteroid 1,000,000 kilometers away into perfect halves. The display of precision and power caused a visible reaction from the Vorn commander. Its mandibles clicked rapidly in what the translation software identified as a sign of extreme distress. You have violated the sacred balance, the Vorn hissed. The Council will not allow this resurrection of human power. The Galactic Council, Sentinel said to Park, a governing body of the major spacefaring species. They were the ones who ratified the containment accord. Park's eyes narrowed. Then perhaps it's time we addressed this council directly. She faced the Vorn commander again. We have no desire for conflict, but we will not surrender our independence or our rightful technology. Stand down your weapons. For a tense moment, it seemed the Vorn might continue fighting. Then, reluctantly, The energy signatures of their weapons faded. "This matter will be decided by the Council," the Vorn commander stated. "But know this, human. Awakening Prometheus has set events in motion that cannot be undone. The old fears will resurface." The transmission cut off, and the Vorn ships began a slow retreat. Choi let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. They're withdrawing to the outer system, but not leaving completely. Park turned to Sentinel. "Can we contact this Galactic Council?" "Yes. Prometheus contains the protocols necessary to establish communication with the Council hub. It was designed to serve as humanity's voice when the time of awakening came." "Then let's make ourselves heard," Park said firmly. "Establish the connection." Sentinel's form grew brighter as it accessed long-dormant communication systems. The Council communication network still exists on the frequencies Prometheus remembers, initiating contact. The bridge hummed with energy as Prometheus broadcast a signal toward a specific point in deep space. Minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, a response came. The holographic display activated, showing not one alien face, but 7 different species arranged in a semicircle. Each sat at what appeared to be a council table. Their appearances varied wildly, some humanoid, others utterly alien in form. The central figure, a tall being with iridescent skin and 4 arms, spoke first. "This communication comes through protocols not used in 100 millennia. Identify yourself." Park stepped forward. "I am Commander Park Juan of Earth, speaking from the vessel Prometheus. We have recovered our ancient technology and wish to address the terms of the containment accord." A murmur ran through the council members. The central figure's skin changed color rapidly before settling on a deep blue. "Impossible," it said. "The human vessels were all destroyed or disabled." "Not all of them," Park replied. "Prometheus was hidden beneath the ice of Europa, waiting to be found when humanity was ready. The Vorn report you have activated defensive systems against their enforcement fleet," said another council member, a being that seemed composed of shifting crystalline structures. "We defended ourselves against unprovoked aggression," Park corrected. "We have harmed no one." Sentinel moved forward, its holographic form expanding. "Honorable Council, the terms of the original accord were clear. If humanity rediscovered their legacy independently, they would be recognized as having evolved beyond containment. That clause was never expected to be invoked," hissed a serpentine counselor. "It was merely a formality." "Yet here we stand," Park said firmly. "Through our own efforts, we found Prometheus. Through our own science, we reactivated its systems. The Accord's conditions have been met." The council members conferred among themselves in sounds the translation system couldn't fully process. Finally, the central figure addressed them again. "This matter requires full council deliberation. You will cease all further activation of ancient human technology and maintain your current position until the council reaches a decision." Park shook her head. "We will not surrender our sovereignty or newly reclaimed technology. But we offer this. Prometheus will return to Earth orbit as a sign of our peaceful intentions. We seek recognition, not conflict." Before the council could respond, Sentinel transmitted a final message that resonated with formal power. "The children of Earth remember who they are. The terms of the ancient accord are now void." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of Prometheus in silence. "What did you just do?" Park asked Sentinel. "I invoked the Awakening Protocol, the formal declaration that humanity has reclaimed their birthright. It triggers certain procedures within council law." Officer Choi looked worried. "What kind of procedures?" "The unsealing of historical archives, the removal of blockades on certain regions of space, and the formal recognition of humanity's status as a founding species of the galactic community." Park stared at the AI in shock. "Founding species?" "Yes, Commander. Before the regression, humans were not merely participants in the galactic community. They were among its creators." As Prometheus turned toward Earth, carrying this world-changing revelation, a message spread rapidly through hidden networks across the galaxy. "The sleepers have awakened. The progenitors return, and in distant corners of space, ancient systems that had lain dormant for 100,000 years began to stir. The journey to the Galactic Council headquarters took 7 days. Prometheus traveled using technology that bent space rather than moving through it, making normal tracking systems useless. Earth's leaders had hastily assembled a delegation. Commander Park, Dr. Kim, and the hastily appointed diplomat Lee Minho, who had been Earth's top negotiator in the Mars colony disputes. "I was preparing for trade negotiations with the Martian settlements," Lee said as he stared out a viewport at the impossible colors of folded space. "Now I'm representing all of humanity to alien civilizations we didn't know existed a week ago." Park nodded sympathetically. "At least Sentinel has been briefing us on council protocols." The AI's holographic form appeared beside them. "We are approaching the Nexus. Prepare for transition." The swirling patterns outside the ship suddenly cleared, revealing normal space again. But what lay before them was anything but normal. Hanging in the void was a massive structure, a ring-shaped station at least 100 kilometers in diameter, surrounded by thousands of ships of different designs. "The Council Nexus," Sentinel explained, "built jointly by the founding species as neutral territory for governance. It has existed for over 5 million years." Lee's face paled. "And humans helped build this. Your ancestors were among the principal architects," Sentinel confirmed. As Prometheus approached, dozens of smaller vessels moved to intercept them. Park tensed, but Sentinel assured her they were only an escort formation. "They recognized Prometheus's signature," the AI explained. "A sovereign-class human vessel has not approached the Nexus since before the regression." When they docked at the massive station, Park was surprised to find the atmosphere was breathable without assistance. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth's but comfortable. A delegation awaited them, representatives from 7 different species. Some looked almost human with minor differences, while others were utterly alien. The leader appeared to be the tall, 4-armed being with iridescent skin they had seen during their communication. "I am High Counselor Zan of the Ilani," it said in perfect English. "Welcome to the Nexus, humans of Earth. I regret the circumstances of our reintroduction." Lee stepped forward, bowing slightly. "We thank you for receiving us, High Counselor. We come seeking truth and understanding." "Then follow me to the Archive Chamber," Zan replied. "It has been prepared as you requested." They were led through vast corridors filled with beings from dozens of species. Many stopped to stare at the humans, some with obvious fear, others with what seemed like reverence. "Why are they looking at us like that?" Dr. Kim whispered to Sentinel. "Humans are figures of both history and legend," the AI replied quietly. "Some races remember your ancestors as great teachers and benefactors. Others remember them as conquerors." The Archive Chamber was a circular room with a central platform surrounded by what appeared to be light-based technology. High Counselor Zan gestured for them to stand on the platform. "What you requested has not been accessed in 100,000 Earth years," Zan explained. "The complete history of humanity's first stellar era, sealed by agreement after the regression protocol was implemented." Park looked around nervously. "We're ready to see the truth." Zan nodded to an assistant who activated the system. The chamber darkened, and suddenly they were surrounded by 3-dimensional images, Earth as it was 120,000 years ago. Unlike the ice-covered planet of that period in known human history, this Earth showed vast cities with technology far beyond current human capabilities. The first ascension began approximately 150,000 years ago, narrated a voice as the images shifted, showing spacecraft leaving Earth. Humans discovered principles of higher physics that allowed them to achieve faster-than-light travel before most species had mastered basic spaceflight. The display showed human vessels spreading outward, establishing colonies on dozens, then hundreds of worlds. "Humanity's greatest strength was always adaptation and innovation," continued the narration. "While older species might take centuries to implement technological improvements, humans created exponential advances within single generations." Dr. Kim watched in awe as the display showed humans terraforming planets, building massive orbital habitats, and developing technologies that seemed like magic even by their current standards. "We accomplished all this," he whispered. "Your advancement was unprecedented," Zan replied. And therein lay the problem. The images shifted, showing conflicts breaking out. Human ships battling other vessels, planets with atmospheres on fire, entire systems destabilized. Technological growth outpaced ethical development. The narration continued. Factions formed within human civilization. Some advocated peaceful coexistence, others believed humanity's destiny was to rule. The expansion wars began approximately 105,000 years ago. Lee watched with growing horror as the images displayed destruction on a scale almost incomprehensible. Planets shattered, stars deliberately collapsed. "We did this?" he asked, his voice barely audible. "Not just you," Zan said quietly. Other species joined both sides. The galaxy fractured along ideological lines. For 5,000 years, the war raged. The display shifted again, showing a final desperate battle around Earth itself. Massive ships, dwarfing even Prometheus, exchanged fire that distorted the very fabric of space. "The cataclysm of Sol marked the turning point," continued the narration. "Human weapons threatened to create a cascading reaction that would have destroyed much of the galactic arm. It was then that all sides recognized annihilation was inevitable without intervention." Commander Park watched as the images showed a council forming, representatives of dozens of species, including humans, gathering at what appeared to be an early version of the Nexus. "The containment accord was not imposed on humanity," Zan explained, gesturing to the display. "It was proposed by your own leaders as an alternative to extinction." "Our leaders suggested wiping our own history?" Park asked incredulously. "They saw no other way to break the cycle," Sentinel interjected. "Human nature itself had to be reset, allowed to evolve again from simpler beginnings." The display showed Earth being systematically altered. Advanced cities deconstructed, the landscape returned to its natural state. Humans were shown being modified at a genetic level, their capabilities reduced, their memories altered. All evidence of advanced technology was removed from Earth and its solar system. The narration continued. Humanity would be allowed to evolve naturally, without outside interference, until they either rediscovered their heritage or developed a different path to the stars. Dr. Kim frowned. "But Sentinel said the Vorn were watching us, keeping us contained." Zan's skin shifted to a deeper blue. "The original accord did allow for observation, but not interference. Over millennia, some council members began to fear what would happen if humans advanced again. The Vorn led a faction that modified the accord to include active suppression of certain technologies." "That wasn't the agreement," Park said angrily. "No," Zan agreed. "It was not. There were always those who opposed such measures, including my people. But fear is powerful, Commander Park. The memory of what human ingenuity could unleash was enough to sway many." The final images showed a small group of humans, scientists and military leaders, working in secret. They appeared to be constructing something massive beneath what the humans recognized as Europa's surface. "Prometheus," Lee whispered. "A contingency," Sentinel confirmed. "Created by those who believed humanity deserved a second chance, but also protection when that second chance arrived." The display ended, leaving the Archive chamber in semi-darkness. Commander Park stood silently, trying to process the weight of history that had just been revealed. "So we were both victims and perpetrators," she finally said. "As are most species who achieve the stars," Zan replied. "None are without blame in the great conflicts. But humans were unique in choosing to start over rather than continue down a path of destruction." Dr. Kim looked troubled. "And now? What happens now that we've awakened Prometheus?" "That is what the Council must decide," Zan said. "By the original terms of the Accord, humanity has earned its place again among the stellar nations, but many fear a repeat of history." Lee stepped forward. "High Counselor, We come with no desire for conquest or domination. We wish only to understand our past and determine our own future." Noble words, Zan acknowledged. But the Council will need more than words. They will watch your actions in the days to come. As they prepared to leave the archive chamber, a small object floated toward them, a crystal cube that glowed with internal light. "This contains the complete historical record you have just witnessed," Zan explained. "It also holds the locations of other human outposts and facilities that were sealed rather than destroyed. They remain under Council quarantine, but as the terms of the Accord have been met, you have the right to petition for access." Park accepted the cube carefully. "Thank you, High Counselor." As they returned to Prometheus, each member of the human delegation was silent, contemplating the staggering revelations. Their species had risen to incredible heights, fallen through their own flaws, and chosen to begin again. "What do we tell Earth?" Lee finally asked as they boarded their ship. Commander Park looked at the crystal cube in her hand, containing the true history of their species. "Everything," she said firmly. "We tell them everything. No more secrets. No more hidden histories. If we're going to rejoin the galactic community, we need to understand both our potential and our mistakes." As Prometheus prepared to depart, signals spread throughout the galaxy. Humanity had returned to the stars, carrying both the weight of their forgotten past and the hope of a better future. The Grand Hall of the United Earth Council fell silent as the projection ended. Commander Park Juon stood beside the holographic display, having just shown humanity's leaders the complete truth of their forgotten past. For 3 hours, government officials, military commanders, and scientists had watched in stunned silence as their species' true history unfolded before them. President Kang stood slowly, his face grave. "Commander, are you certain of the authenticity of these records?" "Yes, Mr. President. The Galactic Council's archives cannot be altered or falsified. This is our history, both the glory and the shame of it." Whispers spread through the assembly. Some faces showed anger, others fear, and a few displayed a dangerous excitement at the thought of reclaiming humanity's former power. Defense Minister Yoon pounded his fist on the table. "We should demand reparations. Our civilization was deliberately set back thousands of years. We've struggled and suffered when we could have been among the stars." Park shook her head. "Minister, did you not see what our ancestors did with that power? The worlds they destroyed, the species they extinguished, and now we're supposed to forgive and forget." Another official called out. Dr. Kim Do-yeon stepped forward. "The very fact that we're debating revenge proves the accord may have been necessary. Our first instinct is still to respond with anger rather than wisdom." The room erupted in argument until President Kang raised his hand for silence. "Enough. We need time to consider these revelations carefully. What we decide now will determine humanity's path for generations to come." He turned to Park. "Commander, what does Sentinel suggest?" The AI's holographic form appeared beside Park. Prometheus was not preserved merely as a weapon, but as a repository of human achievement. Before the wars, humanity created art, music, and knowledge that enriched the galaxy. The ship contains complete archives of this cultural heritage. President Kang's eyes widened. "Show us." Sentinel projected new images, breathtaking architecture that seemed to defy physics, music visualized as patterns of light that moved everyone who witnessed them to tears, scientific principles explained in elegant mathematical forms. "This was also us," Park said quietly. "This is also what we lost." When the display ended, the mood in the room had shifted noticeably. "We have a choice," President Kang said. "We can pursue grievances for what was taken from us, or we can reclaim the better parts of our heritage and move forward." 3 days later, Earth transmitted its official response to the Galactic Council. Rather than demands for reparations or threats of retaliation, humanity proposed a gradual reintegration into the galactic community, beginning with cultural exchange and scientific cooperation. The Council's response was cautious acceptance, though the Vorn and their allies registered formal protests. As a gesture of goodwill, humanity offered to share the artistic and cultural archives recovered from Prometheus with any interested species. "It's a start," Park told Dr. Kim as they observed Earth from Prometheus's observation deck. "But words alone won't convince them we've changed." "What do you have in mind?" Kim asked. "A tour," Park replied. "Prometheus should visit every human settlement in the solar system. The people deserve to see their heritage with their own eyes." Over the next month, Prometheus traveled to Mars, the Moon, the mining colonies in the asteroid belt, and the research stations orbiting Jupiter and Saturn. At each stop, millions gathered to witness the massive ancient vessel and learn about their forgotten history. On the Martian surface, Park opened Prometheus to visitors, showing them not the weapons systems, but the libraries, art galleries, and scientific archives. Children stared in wonder at holograms of Earth as it had been 100,000 years ago, with its gleaming cities and impossible architecture. "We're letting them see everything," Dr. Kim asked as another group of visitors entered the ship. "Even the knowledge of how we nearly destroyed ourselves." "Especially that," Park replied firmly. "We learn from history or repeat it." As Prometheus continued its tour, a more immediate crisis arose. A distress signal reached them from the Titan Research Station, a joint venture between Earth and several non-human species who had established diplomatic relations since the containment accord was officially lifted. "They're under attack," Officer Choi reported, reading the incoming transmission. "Pirates from the Serex cluster have boarded the station. They're taking hostages and stealing research data. The Serex pirates are outside Council jurisdiction," Sentinel explained. "They prey on isolated outposts throughout this sector." Park didn't hesitate. "Set course for Titan. Maximum speed." Prometheus arrived at Saturn's largest moon in less than an hour, its advanced propulsion system covering a distance that would take conventional ships days. The pirate vessel, a cobbled-together craft bristling with stolen weapons, was docked at the research station. "Life signs?" Park asked as she studied the tactical display. 27 station personnel still alive," Choi reported. "Mixture of human, Elani, and Trisk biosignatures. 14 pirates, heavily armed." "Options?" Park asked Sentinel. Prometheus could disable their ship with a targeted energy pulse. The boarding parties could be neutralized with stun fields, but it would require precise targeting to avoid harm to the hostages. Park nodded. "Do it. No lethal force unless absolutely necessary." Prometheus moved silently into position above the station. With surgical precision, the ancient warship fired a pulse of energy that completely disabled the pirate vessel's systems. Simultaneously, targeted fields penetrated the station walls, affecting only the pirates' neural systems and causing them to lose consciousness instantly. Station security, working with Prometheus's crew, quickly secured the unconscious pirates. The hostages, scientists, and support staff from 3 different species were safe, though shaken. Dr. Jum Soman, the human director of the station, approached Park after the rescue. "You saved all of us," she said, gesturing to her staff, which included 2 tall Ilani and several insectoid Trisk. "The pirates would have killed the non-humans first. They're known for their xenophobia." An elderly Trisk scientist clicked forward, its multiple limbs moving in a pattern that expressed deep emotion. Through a translator device, it addressed Park. "I remember the stories of human warships from my ancestor memories," it said. "They were tales of terror, of worlds burned and species scattered. Yet today, such a vessel came to our aid without hesitation." News of Prometheus's rescue spread rapidly through both human channels and the Galactic Council's networks. The ancient warship, once a symbol of humanity's destructive potential, was being recast as a protector. At an emergency session of the Council, the Vorn representatives protested. "This is exactly how it began before," the Vorn ambassador hissed. "Humans appearing as saviors, gaining trust, building alliances. Then come the colonies, the military outposts, the demands for resources. High Counselor Zan of the Eleni responded calmly, "Yet the facts remain. Prometheus could have destroyed the pirate vessel with all hands. Instead, they used minimal force and saved lives, including the lives of beings not their own kind." The debate raged for days, but public opinion throughout the galaxy was shifting. Species that had long feared the return of humanity began to wonder if perhaps they had evolved after all. Back on Earth, Commander Park stood before President Kang and his cabinet, giving her report on the Titan incident. "The pirates will be prosecuted under council law," she explained. "But more importantly, their capture has led to the discovery of a larger smuggling network that's been targeting research outposts throughout the outer system." "And the council's reaction?" the president asked. "Mixed, but improving. 3 more species have requested access to the cultural archives from Prometheus, and the Eleni have proposed a joint security initiative for the frontier regions." President Kang nodded thoughtfully. "A month ago, we discovered we were prisoners in our own solar system. Today, we're discussing security partnerships with alien civilizations." He looked up at Park. "What changed their minds?" "Actions speak louder than words, Mr. President. We're showing them who we choose to be now, not who we were 100,000 years ago." As the meeting concluded, Park returned to Prometheus, which hovered above Earth like a watchful guardian. In the ship's central chamber, Sentinel had created a display of images from across the galaxy. Worlds humans had once visited, species they had once known, stars they had once navigated. "Will we return to all these places someday?" Park asked the AI. "In time," Sentinel replied. "But wisely, I hope, and with purpose beyond conquest." Park nodded, looking at the images of distant stars. The future that had been denied to humanity for 100 millennia now opened before them again, not as conquerors or destroyers, but as explorers and protectors. In the depths of Prometheus, the ancient ship hummed with renewed purpose. Built for war, it had instead become a bridge between humanity's forgotten past and its hopeful future. As Earth prepared to take its first careful steps back into the galactic community, the ancient warship stood ready, not to dominate the stars, but to help humanity find its rightful place among them.